Who's gonna start first?
I'll have John start.
Okay. So the first thing we're gonna do is find his working number. So in the video, I believe I talk about 3 numbers, right? Connection, perception, and then working.
Yep.
Working level is gonna change depending on the context. Well, actually, technically, you won't get a consistent, like 5 is always this and 9 is always this because of his fur, what's going on and all that stuff. So connection, of course, is when you see the twitch, but the dog doesn't really like even feel like is not aware of it.
Right.
Perception is when you see the twitch and he's kind of like, what's going on? And then working is twitch and then, whoa, what was that?
Yeah.
Okay. So that working number, the reason why that's so important is because that's what makes the obedience important within that context. Okay. So if it's not important, they're not going to do it. So we just want to make sure that when we work with him, that it is, of course, concerning because he's going to think to himself, I don't like this. I want to not have that happen again. Okay? So you are currently at what number?
At 10.
At 10? Let's go to 15.
Okay.
And then you're going to get that bumpy button. And when I say tap, you're going to press it. So we're going to look here at Vinny and tap, tap, tap. Okay? So there's no nothing going on. Let's go to 20. And if you land 19, 21, 22, general range is fine. And tap, tap, tap. 25. Well, so grab the box on the neck and hit the pager function.
Yeah. Is it going to vibrate?
Yeah.
Yeah, vibrating.
Okay.
So it's
Yeah.
just, it's a high,
So it's just So it's just we have no connection yet. This is normal.
Okay, so 25.
Correct. Tap, tap. Hold it and keep him on a short leash because it'll make it more obvious when he feels it. Tap, tap, tap. 30. Tap, tap, tap. We might have perception. 35. Tap, tap, tap. 40. Tap, tap, tap. 45. Tap. There it is, right? Tap.
Yep.
And tap. Okay, so you saw the contraction and you saw him kind of go like, whoa, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to pause for a second and tap.
Yep.
There it is, right? So that I would actually say that's the working number. See how I made a move over here?
Yeah.
So we're going to start with that first. If we end up getting a yip or something, it means he's now becoming more aware of it. We'll simply bring that number down, okay? So we always start low, we work our way up, okay? So this week, when you work with him, what you'll do is you'll start first by letting him potty, get that done first. Then you're gonna find your working number, and then you're gonna start your training. Okay, don't assume 45 is gonna always be the perfect number.
Got it.
It might be 30 one day.
Different on the day, his mood, his all. Yeah.
Correct. But then what you should find is a general range.
Got it.
Where you might find like, yeah, every walk we always end up getting connection at like around 30-ish. But at 45 is when he really listens. So then come the second week, you give me your data. And you'll say, you're like, once we hit 50, he's perfect. And I go, okay, now we just start at 50. Because why would we work our way up to 50 if we know 50 makes him be perfect, right? So we're going to go ahead, we're going to start with the healing exercise.
Okay.
So here I train dogs traditionally on the left. That work for you? Yeah, if you're right-handed, left is easier.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do here is for Vinny, whenever he gets ahead of you, I'm going to say turn. When I say turn, you're going to 180 to the other direction, to the right, okay? So he passes 180 to the right.
Always turn to the right.
To the right, correct. He's going to get ahead of you. I'm going to say turn. You're going to go off to the right, right? So he's walking with you. He passes, turn, 180. Passes, turn, 180, okay? So we're going to keep repeating that. I'm also going to say tap. When I say tap, that means one individual press, okay? So if he gets ahead, I say turn, you 180, and it'll be tap, tap, tap. And the moment Vinny is here, you'll hear me say something like good, and then you'll keep walking. He's probably going to pass you. Turn, tap, 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 tap. Good. He passes.
Trust me on all the taps.
Yes, correct. Yeah. So if I don't say tap, you don't do anything. Okay, so when I say good, it's essentially meaning no more tapping. He's in the right spot. So I say turn, it's an immediate turn to the right. When I say tap, that's one press of that bumpy button. The last thing I might say to you is pull to your left. Okay, Because what can happen is Vinny will move over to your right side. So as you're walking, you'll pull to your left and tap at the same time as you're moving to flush Vinny from your right over to your left.
Yep.
Okay? And you want to more so do it with the remote. You don't want to just physically drag him over. Okay, so we want the remote to essentially motivate Vinny to figure out what it is he's supposed to do. Because you could very easily just...
Instead of collar pop, it's a push.
Correct. Because if you yank him or bring him over physically, you're doing all the work. We need him to do the work mentally, okay? I'll say other things like speed up, slow down, or whatever, which is pretty straightforward. But the three main things are the 180 turn to the right when I say turn, press the button when I say tap, and then pull to left when I say pull left, okay? In terms of slack, is go ahead and relax your arm and take up like maybe 3 inches here. Like that, okay? So you see, he's such an awkward build. You see how your leash kind of makes a little J shape there?
Yeah.
And the bottom of that J is kind of by his armpit?
Yep.
That's like the perfect length. Okay, because it's long enough that it gives him slack to get ahead of you, but not so long that he's going to get tangled up underneath his legs.
Got it.
Okay, so let me go ahead and get situated, and I'm going to coach you through all this. You said no questions? Any questions?
No,
Nope.
makes sense.
All righty. So we're at 45, correct?
Yes.
All right, let's go ahead and just give one more test tap.
Yeah.
Good, okay? So go ahead and I'm going to have you start walking towards that wall. Okay, go ahead and just move forward. Tap. Pull to your left. Tap. 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 There we go. Good. Pull to your left. Tap. Good. Now turn. Tap. Good. Keep forward. Keep forward. Go ahead, keep moving. Go ahead and turn. Tap. Pull to your left. Tap. Let's go ahead and bring that down. Let's go down to 30 on your remote.
Okay.
And then forward, pull to your left. Tap. Tap. Good. Go ahead and turn. Tap. Good. Keep forward, tap. Good. Turn, tap. Good. Turn, tap. Good. Pull, keep forward, tap. Good. Relax your arm, turn, tap. Good. Good, relax your arm. Pull to your left, tap. Pull to your left, tap. Tap, good. Turn. Good. Keep forward. Tap. Good. Keep forward, tap. Good. Relax. Yep, good. Turn. Good. Pull to your left, tap. Tap. Good. Keep forward, good. Now slow walk, slow turn. Good turn. Pull to your left, tap. Good. Keep forward, tap. Tap. Good. Keep forward, good. Slow walk, turn, tap. Tap. Good.
At any point, do we talk to him during this, or is that just confusing?
No, right now he's just learning with the remote.
Got it.
Slow walk, slow turn. Good turn, pick up pace. Good. Turn, tap. Good. Yep, good. And then turn again. Good turn. Keep forward. Turn, tap, tap, tap. Good. Turn, tap. Good. Turn, tap. Good. Pull to your left, tap. Good. Slow walk. Slow turn. Good turn. Go ahead and pick up pace. Keep forward, tap, tap. So when he pulls like that, keep your arms just anchored and have the taps will bring him in.
Got it.
Okay. Slow turn. Good turn. Go ahead and pick up the pace. Turn, tap, tap. Good. Keep forward. Good. Slow walk. Slow slow turn. Good turn. Go ahead and bump it to 35. And turn. Good, tap. Good, keep forward. Good. Slow walk, slow turn. Good. Yep, good, keep forward, good. Turn, tap. Good. Keep forward, tap. Good. Turn, tap. Good. Turn, tap. Good. Slow walk. Turn, tap. Good tap, good. Go ahead and bump it to 38. Forward. Good. Slow turn. Good. Now slow walk here, but keep forward. And tap. Right. Slow walk. Slower. Turn. Tap. Good. Pick up your pace. Good. Now slow turn. Good. Now slow walk. Keep forward, tap. Good. Slower. Slower. Turn. Tap. Pull to your left, tap. Tap. Pull to your left, tap. Good. Turn. Tap. Now slow walk. Keep forward, tap. 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 Keep forward, tap. Keep forward, tap. Tap. Good. Let's go ahead and bump that to 41. Yep, good turn. Good. Go ahead and pick up your pace a little. Now slow walk. Good. Slow turn. Slow walk. Keep forward. Slower. Stop. Perfect. All right. We're going to give him. Going to slow turn again?
Oh, I didn't.
No, you're fine. He's excited. He's like, I want to train this dog. Go ahead and come a little bit forward. And then you're going to slow walk. Now slower. Stop right there. Perfect. Okay. We're going to give him a break to process that. Check. Okay. So, what do we see?
You started listening towards the end when you turned, and when you slowed down your pace.
Correct, right? How do we get him to pay attention to you?
It's pushing a button.
Pushing the button, right?
Yeah.
And how is what we're doing here? Can you see how the exercise is working to teach him how to follow you?
Yes, any moment where his focus and attention is not on keeping pace with me in the right spot, we alert him that he's doing something wrong.
Okay. And so the tap, right, to correct them and say, don't do that. And then what were you doing to show him what to do?
Not tapping, I guess. Right?
Technically, yes. What else?
Changing.
Yes. Going opposite. Okay. So when people try to teach the heel, when the dog gets ahead, like we'll keep walking, right? And they'll yank the dog or they'll remote them and go, no, heel. And they'll keep going the same direction. Okay? And you'll see the dog take the correction and look up like, what was that for? But because you're going in the same direction, the dog cannot connect.
Interesting.
It's too complicated.
Right.
Okay? Because they don't understand what no means. They don't understand what heel means by definition. Now, he could learn that no means don't do that or else I'll give you a consequence. But he doesn't understand that no means no. He understands that no has a consequence. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So what we do here is we give him enough slack to make the mistakes.
Yeah.
Right? So that's where the turns come into play. He gets ahead of you. You start, you do your turn, but then you're tapping at the same time. So for Vinny, he feels this. He goes, hey, I don't.
He gets ahead of me, we turn, and he gets the whole shot, basically.
Correct, right? Because he passes you, like you said. He feels this. I don't like this.
Right.
Dad's going that way. He catches up. It disappears. Then he got ahead of you again. It kicks in. Hey, it's back. And now Dad's going that way. He catches up. It disappears. Okay? So we're teaching him. It's technically yes saying don't do that, but it's also communication.
Yeah.
So you're saying don't do that, do this.
Right.
Okay, so it's what I call correct and redirect. Don't go that way, redirect, we're going this way. Okay? So, whereas again, most people try to keep going in the same direction, the dog, too complicated to compute. Okay? Like, you could tell a child, at least that's old enough to understand, words and what they mean, walk at my side. And that kid, by definition, would know what walk by my side means. Does that make sense? Dogs will never know that.
Yeah.
So, it's very simple. You get ahead of me, you get corrected. You see me going the opposite way, you walk at my side, no correction. So then you start to learn, this is the safe spot. Okay? So then we were at 45. 45 was too much. We went down to 30, then 35, then 38, then 41. Right? So I was going in movements of 5, but then once I recognized I was getting close to what I was looking for, which was this. I was waiting for that when you would slow down, I would know that he was paying attention because he would ultimately slow down with you and stop with you with a completely slack leash.
Okay.
Yeah, he's stressed. I'll explain this stuff too. But without any tension, he was able to do this. Okay? That's mental control.
Yeah.
So when it comes to the shaking here, this is in response to the e-collar, okay? Because no one likes discipline. So growing up, if I got spanked for something that I shouldn't have done or whatever, I wasn't coming out from that spanking smiling. I was crying, or I was obviously not happy about it, right? So here, don't feel bad about this. This goes away, okay? Growing up, as I got more disciplined, I learned this is life. And if I don't want to be disciplined, then I simply don't make these decisions, and I can avoid the consequence. Same thing for this guy, okay? And the more you expose them to the e-collar, the faster it goes away. People tend to lay off the e-collar when they see stuff like this, okay? Because they're like, oh, the dog's shaking, I feel so bad. And they only use the e-collar when the dog is being really bad, because it makes them feel better. Like they feel validated. Like, okay, I'm gonna remote you now because now you're lunging and barking. But then it becomes a forever problem, okay? So the more you expose them, it's kind of like, let's say skydiving. Have you guys gone skydiving before?
I've never been.
Okay, have you? Okay, neither have I. Probably never will. Okay, but let's imagine that like you were going skydiving, right? Obviously, that first time, I think we can all agree it would be very stressful. You're probably not going to just jump out the plane, no problem. But let's say you went skydiving 3 times a week, right? It would get easier for you,
Right.
because you're exposing yourself to that stressor on a regular basis. If you went skydiving once a year or once a month, you probably get over it, but it's going to take a long time, less exposure. Same thing applies here, okay? So this is all normal. Dogs bite each other, so you don't have to worry about, you're not scarring your dog emotionally or mentally or physically or anything like that. This is just part of the process. This is what we call either detoxing or venting stress, okay? So here, all that panting and stuff, he's going, holy crap, what just happened, okay? And we need the holy crap, what just happened, because it means it's important. We only stress about important things, like bills, paying the mortgage, right? Trying, I guess, now not to catch COVID or whatever. We stress about the important things. Same thing here. So this, people see and they go, oh my God, the dog looks so sad. And I go, no, I'm like, this is good because it means something. Otherwise, we get
He
nowhere.
recognizes that this is something big happening.
Correct. And I actually worked, because he's a Bernedoodle, right?
Yeah.
I worked with another Bernedoodle who was like twice his size, and he was shaking like crazy. And I thought he was going to take a long time to recover, and he recovered within the week. By the next time I saw him, he was, boom, right at their side, completely relaxed, because they kept exposing him to it. Now, every dog does advance differently.
Right.
Some dogs could take a few months. Some dogs, it's a couple of weeks. His just happened to be within the week. So don't be deterred by this, okay? Also, you don't want to ever try to console him or pet him in this state. Because if you try to console him, your intention is good, but he doesn't understand the consolation part of it, okay? So like, let's say we would pet him. It's okay, buddy, right? It's okay, buddy is the consoling part, and the petting is the aid in that. But petting is a reinforcer. So actually what you're telling him is, yes, you should be shaky. You should be really freaked out about this, okay? So it's like when I see people with their dogs are lunging and barking, and they're like, it's okay, like calm down. They're trying to relax the dog, but really for the dog, they're going, keep doing that, Okay, we do it in protection training. Exactly.
Paying an affection is a reward.
Exactly, right? So you want to look at what you're rewarding. Okay, so I'm not against petting dogs. I just don't pet them at certain times because I know it can make a problem. Okay? So being indifferent for him or indifferent to him allows him to take the discipline, process it, and just go like, okay, like I can handle this.
This is life.
I don't need to be consoled or anything like that. Okay? Questions about any of this so far?
No.
So what we're gonna do now is I'm gonna have you go ahead and dip down. We're at 41.
Yes.
Let's go down to 33. So the reason why we're going down low is in this stage, he's literally processing everything that just happened right now. Okay? So if we start off at 41, it could potentially be too high. So I go a little bit lower, and then we'll work our way back up again, and we might find that we only go to 38. Because as you apply this more, he becomes more sensitive to it. Okay? And over the course of training, you may find that his number goes lower. In some cases, it can stay the same, like it could be around 45. In other cases, it can go higher. Okay? Most of the time, the number goes lower, but we won't know that until like we go along. Okay? So we're just adjusting, and then when you work with them at home and stuff, you'll most likely be at a consistent range. It's usually only having to dip it like this in the very first session.
Got it.
Okay? Questions?
No?
No?
All right, so I'm gonna have you do the same thing again. You're gonna go ahead and just start moving forward.
Okay, you ready?
Good, going to slow turn. Good turn. Turn again. Tap. Pull to your left, tap. Good. And then slow turn. Good. Turn. Tap. Tap. Good. Turn. Tap. And let's bump it to 38. Slow turn when you're ready. Good turn. Keep forward, tap, tap, tap. Keep forward, tap, tap. Good. Good. Slow turn. Good. And I'm going to have you walk past mom again, okay? Now remember, if he pulls, just keep walking forward and just keep your arm anchored. Go in a slow turn. Good turn.
Yeah.
All right, now pull to your left, tap. Pull to your left, tap. Good. Now slow turn. Tap. Good. Better. And this time when you walk past mom, I'm gonna have you walk in a little bit closer, okay? Good, slow turn, good turn. Tap forward. Tap, 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 tap. Good, let's go to 41. I'm gonna repeat that again. Hey Corey, go to my car, go in the trunk, and I have an antibacterial thing in there. You can just pull it out. The antibacterial stuff. There's another one in my trunk. Huh? No, it's in the room or whatever. Go ahead and slow turn. Good turn. Let's try that again. Now slow walk there and stop. Perfect. See that difference? So there, that pulling to the side is normal. It's kind of like with kids. When one parent disciplines them, they go to the other parent, right? He's kind of seeking comfort. And it was good that you just completely ignored him. And you're just like, we're walking, right? Because in the earlier ones, you were physically, it was more so the pull that brought him in and not him making the conscious choice to avoid. Yeah. So here we want the remote to do all the work for us, right? So the reason why we're not turning here is because he's just going sideways, right? So if I keep going forward, he still has to close the gap coming this way. Whereas when he gets ahead of you, when you go this way, he has to close the gap coming this way. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So turn is technically an option there, but here I just keep going forward because I want him to differentiate that it wasn't for not following my leg, it was for deviating, okay? And I don't know if you saw on one of them, he actually was moving this way. Did you see that? So he's trying to figure out, he's like, is it mom that's causing this to happen? Or is it me pulling towards mom? So then when you repeated it again, he actually kept here because he was like, oh, I guess it's not her, it's if I go that way, okay? So in order for a dog to differentiate between things, we have to keep repeating it, okay? So we went down to 33, up to 38, back to 41 again? 41, right? So right now, 41 seems to be that magic number because after you did a correction with it or whatever, he was able to hold the positioning and it deterred him.
He several taps, he didn't process it, at least walking by him.
Correct. And that's how we can tell if what we're working at is the correct number. So e-collar should never feel like an argument, okay? It shouldn't be, man, he's just pulling and I'm tapping, tapping, and tapping, he's just not getting it, right? It should never feel that way. If it does feel that way, you're too low, okay? There's also the possibility of you being too high, which if you're too high, it's gonna be a lot of yelping and stuff. But if you there's no yelping, whatever, and he's just constantly doing whatever he's wanting, we're too low, okay? And that's the one thing that tends to hold people back, is they stay too low. So let's say you go on a walk with him, and you're on, let's say 15, and it's a perfect walk, 15, okay? Everything's perfect. People go like, oh my God, it's great, it's 15. And they get married to that number. And then next thing you know, over the course of time, the dog starts to regress, okay? And they're stuck at 15 when me personally, I would go up higher, right? Because I would adjust it to the dog. But they're so stuck on the 15 because it's low and it makes them feel good.
It worked at one time.
Exactly, they get stuck on that, right? And every day is gonna be different, okay? So yes, you'll have probably a standard range. Those standard ranges typically around 25 to 35 in most cases. In extreme cases, it's like 80 plus. And in other cases, it's anything in the middle, So this week when you walk with him, every time you walk with him, you're determining what's his range gonna be, right? And what's his range gonna be when there's a lot going on? What's his range gonna be when we're at PetSmart or Petco or Home Depot or whatever, right? You'll start to learn context and you'll learn in the neighborhood, 35 is great. Inside, PetSmart, it's 41. At Oz Park, when it's busy in spring and there's tons of things going on, it's 55. You'll start to learn these things, and then what you'll find is you'll just intuitively adjust your range.
On the distractions that you perceive.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's really just logic, and then just knowing and being willing to go higher when needed. Okay. So we don't pick the number. He does.
Right.
Because if we started at 15 and we had connection and we had he was giving us the response we wanted, and he's like, "Whoa, what was that?" And we did all this on 15 and he wasn't pulling it, or if it was, when we tapped 15 on the pull to the side and he stopped doing it, we wouldn't have gone past 15. There's no need to. Okay. So what he does in response to the tap is ultimately what dictates: do I have to go lower or do I have to go higher? Okay. Questions?
No.
So on some of these, I was telling you slow turn. Do you know why?
For him to exercise more control during it or process it?
You're close.
He has to make a conscious decision to stay right here, but when I change up paces and slow, turn fast or slow. Basically.
Correct, right? So earlier I said when I say turn, you're just going to 180 to the other way, right? Because he's not paying attention, so when you 180, it's abrupt to correct him back into position, right? But once I started to see he was following your lead a bit more, we used the change of pace to test how much attention are you paying. Because if you slowed down and he kept going, he's not paying attention. We kept correcting, we adjusted the number. But once I started to see him follow and slow down with you, I go, okay, we're getting close. So then when he was walking at your side, if you just abruptly turned, it would be unfair. Because he's actually walking at your side, he's actually paying attention.
Yeah.
So by doing the slow turn, it gives him the opportunity to slow turn with you.
Yeah.
Okay?
That makes sense.
So what he's learning here is if I get past that leg or if I deviate from the leg to the left, whatever, tap happens. If I stay on that hip, nothing happens. Okay? So by using your change of speed, you're communicating with him and allowing him to process what it is you're doing so he can follow you and avoid the tap. Does that make sense? Now, if you did a slow turn and he kept going, then clearly he wasn't paying attention. You would just tap, turn, boom. Correct. Okay. So, and because heel is a two-part exercise, this exercise today is to teach Vinny to follow your lead. Okay. Next class, we start to get into specifics of how to communicate with him using body language, so that he can read your body language movements and move with you. Okay. So heel, or the heel command, is like dancing. So like, let's say in salsa or whatever, there's a leader and a follower. So an experienced dancer knows how to use their body language and pressure to then communicate to their partner, this is what we're doing. Okay, so an experienced dancer can make an inexperienced dancer look good because they know how to lead well. So when I work with dogs, because I've been doing this for 10 years, they pick up on it really fast because I do a lot of things naturally, body language wise, that they start to read. So then the owner's like, oh wow, the dog's learning so fast. But it's really me doing more stuff that they're not seeing.
Communicating better than I can communicate.
Correct. So right now your communication is simply, if you get ahead of me, I'm going to go this way and tap you, right? But then next class, when we add in the movements and like leg movements and changes in speed, it's going to kind of close that gap and you're going to go, oh wow, like this is deeper than I thought it was. Okay? Questions?
No.
So we're going to try one more quick little run and then we're going to swap handlers.
Perfect.
Okay?
I don't think I'm going to be able to.
So keep it at 41.
Let's go ahead and go down to 35. And when you're ready, go ahead and move. Good, and slow turn. Good turn. Get ready to turn. Good turn. Now here, going to slower and come to that stop. Good. Now here, I'm going to have you just take 5 steps. Good. 3 steps. Go ahead and turn. Tap. Good. We're going to try that again.
5 steps.
So here, go ahead and turn to me and tap it forward because he got ahead of you there. Okay, pull to your lap. There you go. Good. Now try just 5 steps. Yep. 1, 2, 4. Okay, not too bad. Just try 3 steps. 1, 2, 3. Good. So you see how he's passing you here? So we're like at a, I want to say like 70 to 80% attention rate right now. Okay. The other thing is, notice what he keeps doing. Right, and he's looking towards your direction, right? So this can be like also him, again, trying to seek comfort there.
Yeah.
But ideally, so he actually didn't do too bad. Like he did do those few steps with you, and just that last bit, he overcompensated to turn around so he can keep eyes on her. Okay. But once you get like as close to 100% as possible, he'd be boom right on your hip. Those 5 steps, 3 steps, 1 step, or whatever. So this is something that you can do just to kind of see where he's at. Because if he did 5 steps and then he just kept going, clearly he's not paying attention. You would default into that turn and tap to lock him back into place, okay? So this I'm not too worried about, like for you to do as practice. It's more so for you to do to test how much attention you have.
Got it.
Okay? Let's go and swap handlers.
This must last?
Yes. Okay, so go ahead and turn this way to start moving. And relax your arm. Good, and just forward. Good. Turn. Tap. Good. Good, and you're gonna slow down to the turn. Good. And he turns with you, good. Going to pick up your pace. Did you guys coordinate matching sweater and leash?
We did not.
Going to slow down again and turn. Good, turn. Now you're going to slow walk here. Turn, tap, tap. Good, forward, good. Turn, forward. Turn, tap, tap, good. Slow turn, slow walk. So you see how he's forging right there, right? So what's your number right now?
35.
Let's go to 38. So here, for you to recognize, I can tell immediately if the number we were working at is effective,
I could tell it wasn't.
right? Because as soon as you turn, he would already start to go off.
Yeah.
So for your visual, take one step so that your left leg is next to his right shoulder, right there, okay? So that, and then turn so you're facing the same direction. That would be perfect heel position. Right shoulder to left leg, okay? So you can use that as your visual. So when you turn and tap, if you're at the correct number, you should feel him kind of just lock in.
Yeah, he was going a little wide,
Yeah.
a little further out.
Exactly, right? So like on some of them, when you were doing the coming forward and you tapped him, he actually came in and walked straight to that
Yep.
left side, right?
Yep.
So on 35, you did like 2 to 3 turns there,
And he was
and he
deviating.
kept deviating. Then I go, okay, 35 isn't working, 38, okay? So now, and we were going down lower to give him the opportunity because we're expecting he's probably processing. But almost, and we'll probably end up going to 41 again, right? So that would tell us, just keep it at 41 then,
Yeah.
right? Because that tends to be where we're going anyways,
Right.
and when he locks in, okay?
Right.
So I have what I call my 3 tap or 3 correction roll, okay? So if you're on an actual walk, you're only turning and tapping when he gets ahead of you.
Okay.
Okay, so if he's walking at your side, you just continue walking. So let's say you start off and maybe you're at 30 and you turn and tap, turn and tap, turn and tap. That is now 3 corrections.
Okay.
I bump the level. Okay, maybe I go from 30 to or 35 to 40, right? Then I reset. Turn and tap, turn and tap, turn and tap. Now 3 corrections. Bump it again, 45. And I keep
Got it.
repeating that, right?
That's your signal of sorts.
Now to
move
go
it
up higher.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people struggle with how do I know when to go up higher, right? So I know.
Deviate after 3 tap, after 3. Continue to deviate after your third
Exactly.
tap. Okay.
Correct, or third
He's not-
turn tap. Yeah.
Processing.
The other way I go about it is like, let's say he's pulling towards the dog, and I stand still, and I go tap, 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 and he doesn't stop. I bump it, tap, 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 bump it, tap, 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 bump it, right? And what you'll find is once you hit that right number, right off that first, maybe second hit, boom, he's gonna pull back. Okay, so that's why every 3 taps or 3 correctional turns, I bump the number
Okay.
until I find, and you'll like, let's say you do a turn and tap, boom, all of a sudden he locks in.
Yeah.
And then you might find you don't have to turn to correct him for like 30 minutes. Then that's a really good gap of time, right?
Yeah.
So then I look at my number, oh, 55, and he was perfect for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Then I just work at 55,
Yeah.
right? And then you'll do this each walk, you know, because
To
again,
learn, yeah.
you're trying to get consistency.
Yeah.
But eventually, like you will find a range of like, oh yeah, he's between 40 to 50 or whatever.
After 2 or 3 weeks of practice, it's like, oh, you know what, he lands between 40 and 52 every single time.
Yes.
So you start there and you work your way up.
Correct. And then once you develop your eye, like I can see it right away, where I'll just like know, oh, I need to go to like 50 and not do 40, 43,
Yeah.
46, 49. Because what happens is in the beginning, he'll learn that pattern and he's like, oh, it'll take you 10 minutes before you hit 50. So he'll deviate that entire time. And then once you hit 50, okay, now listen. And then they'll behave themselves. Okay? It's super common. I see it all the time. So that's why a lot of people will say like, yeah, Jesse, the walk, like, you know, the first 10 minutes is usually rough, but then the dog kind of gets in, then they lock in. And I'll ask them like, are you still bumping your number? And they'll say, yeah, I'm doing this to this. And they go, no, just start at that. And then right off the bat, the walk is going to start perfect because that's where you end up at anyways. You know, because the dog will learn and go, oh, it's going to take you 10 minutes.
Right.
So I'm going to just blow this off.
Right.
Exactly. This is my 10 minutes. Yeah. Okay. So we're at 38 now?
Yep.
Okay. So I'm going to have you go ahead and move forward again.
Move forward or go to 40? Sorry.
Move forward. Good. Get ready for your turn. Good. Go ahead and pick up your pace a little bit. And you're gonna, once you hit close to the wall, you're gonna slow to a slow turn. There you go. Good. Turn, tap. Right. Good. There you go. Slow turn. Good. So you see how you completed that turn, and you can see the difference from that 38 and the 35. The 35, he was already kind of zooming ahead, and on that 38, he actually held back a little bit. Good. Get ready for your turn. And then walk slower. Keep forward, slower, yep. Then stop. Good. Okay, now try 5 steps. Good, now try 3 steps. Now try 1 big step. There you go. So that's what I was testing with you earlier, right? Now, the difference here is he had another break or 2 breaks to process. Okay? So earlier when I said you were about 70 to 80, he may have not just processed enough, or at the time the number just wasn't quite there yet. But with that bump from 35 to 38, it kind of closed the gap for all that and allowed him to be able to match you at your pace right now with those 5 steps, 3 steps, and that 1 step.
Right.
And I don't know if you noticed that when you started to slow down, he actually started to sit.
Yeah, he's like, okay, like, I'm good.
Yeah, you know, so he's starting to become a little bit paranoid. Okay, now paranoid sounds like a bad thing, right? But it's actually good because it means he's hypersensitive to you now.
Being very perceptive.
Yes, okay, and
Really
again,
aware of what's going on, and
Yeah.
yeah, he's like, oh, you're slowing down. Should I sit? Like, you know, like he's like, what do you need me to do?
Right.
And we want that kind of energy because that's what makes this reliable.
He's listening, yes.
Yes, okay. So here, the reason why we're not saying anything is because dogs don't need sound in order to know or to learn something. I've not said anything to him
No.
this whole time, neither have you. Everything I've said has been for you. Tap, turn, good, pull to your left, blah, 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 right? Nothing directed at him. And he's doing exactly what I intended to teach him,
Yeah.
okay, because of remote.
Yep.
Because dogs communicate with physicality, nipping, biting, right? So this is our bite on the button. So as long as you know how to apply it correctly without sound, like he's gone now, but we have a deaf dog here who's trained by us on remote collar. And obviously we can't talk to him, but he's developed the same level of skills as any other dog, okay? Because we can still communicate through physicality,
Right.
okay? So here, for him, as long as you have that appropriate number, it should feel pretty straightforward,
Right.
okay? So again, if you ever are working with him, especially outside where there's gonna be more distractions, his buddies, maybe neighbor dogs that he knows and stuff like that, you'll have to figure out with your range and your numbers what's gonna be appropriate for those situations, okay? If you get a yelp, right? Let's say maybe you press the wrong button, you hit continuous, or like maybe he gets sensitive to it and there's really good connection and you remote him on 41, he's like, what? Right? It's okay. Just dip it down, you know, go down to 30 or whatever. And then if you need to work your way up, or just keep it at 30 if that's working well, okay? If he yelps for anything and you go, oh buddy, I'm so sorry, again, you're consoling that reaction, right? You're reinforcing it.
Right.
So it's kind of like with kids, you know, they fall off a bike. You can either teach them how to get up, dust themselves off, and get over it, or you can coddle them, right? And they're going to garner you
Right.
very different responses in terms of how that child handles stress and things like that.
Right.
Okay. So same thing for dogs. So he has a learning capacity of I say a 3 to 4 year old child, and he'll forever be that up here. Okay. So over the course of time, you're not going to have to always be remoting. He will learn what the command means and stuff, but remember the presence of that collar is going to make a difference because people tend to expect, I train the dog and the dog should choose to be a good dog.
Right.
Is how a lot of people think, and they go, no, no, no. Dogs don't make proactive choices like humans can. They make reactive choices. Oh, you don't have the collar on? Sure, I'm going to do whatever I want.
Right.
Oh, you have the collar on? I'm going to be a good boy.
Right.
Right? Just like with kids. There was the whole, like, I don't know if it was on TikTok or something, where they'll put the candy in front of the kid.
Yeah.
And they'll say, don't you eat that now.
Yeah.
Right? If you wait for 1 minute, you get to eat it, right?
Right.
And it was like a test, and some kids would need it, some kids wouldn't need it, right?
Right.
But of course, they understood by definition what those words mean, and all that stuff. So for him, obviously, he doesn't understand by definition what words mean, but you'll have to reinforce things, and of course, the absence of certain things will affect what his behavior is.
Right.
Okay? So it's nothing good or bad, it's just the way it is. But just keep that in mind. Okay? Any questions or concerns so far?
I would ask like for the week or in between, maybe you'll get to this, is how much do we practice on it? Where, like, should it be on when we're inside in the house, like working all the time? Like what's the best way to introduce this to him over the long term?
Sure. So don't use the collar for anything that we've not covered. Okay? So like I had a lady and I told her, don't do this, don't use this for anything else. And then like she emailed me like, my dog ran away. And I was like, what happened? She's like, well, I was trying to call him and I was remoting him and he ran off. And I'm like, yeah, because we've not taught the recall with remote, you know? So only apply it to things that we've covered. So the walking stuff, okay?
And then it's off when we're not walking.
Correct, right? What I would suggest is you put it on 15 minutes prior, then you start your walk, and then leave it on for 15 minutes after, okay? You can also put it on him during the day and not do anything, like let's say for an hour while he's in the home, but don't do anything. Just to get him used to having it on, but not thinking something's always going to happen.
Right.
And you might
Not him associated with something really terrible.
exactly right. And you can also like when you put it on him, give him a treat. When you take it off him, give him a treat as well. That'll help. Just kind of speed along the process. My dogs love the e-collar, so when they hear me like even just like touch it, they come running because they're like, are we going to get to go run around off leash or whatever, right? So it has a very strong positive. But in the beginning, my dogs were just like that. Okay.
I mean, like, we said like it's for his best that he has this in the long term. Like he's going to be able to do.
He's going to do so
I
much
don't
more.
feel bad right now.
No, either do I.
Yeah.
And, because like we've had horrible experiences at the dog park where it's like if he had an e-collar and he was trained with it,
It wouldn't have
he
happened.
would have had a great experience and we would have had a
Yeah,
great
and then it makes you want to do more,
Yeah.
right? And include them in more activities.
100%.
So, and then if you notice, remember on our consultation,
Yes.
how whiny he was,
Yes.
right? And now he's more quiet, like you can hear the breathing, and he's whined a couple of times.
Right.
As you work with him more, that should just start to go down.
Okay.
Okay, because the whining is a little bit of anxiety, but I dub it more overstimulation. Too many options for him. And you're just saying, that's not an option, that's not an option, that's not an option. So as you remove those, there's nothing to get worked up for,
Right.
right? So now it allows them to learn how to be passive.
Right.
In terms of how much to practice in a day and when to incorporate and stuff, your walks are now training walks, okay? And over the course of time, your walks just become really good walks because you've done all the training,
Right.
okay? So I do 80-20, 80% work to 20% play. So if I do a long 1 hour walk, 45 minutes or so would be structured heel. 15 minutes would be play with your friends or pee and poop or whatever, okay? Your dog becomes what you practice with them. So if you practice more non-structure, affection, do whatever you want, go to dog park and be a crazy man, you're gonna get that kind of dog.
Right.
If you practice structure, discipline, rules, boundaries, and in response, he will get privileges that he's earned, you're gonna get that kind of dog.
Okay.
Okay? So dogs are better in smaller chunks. So 3 20-minute walks or 4 15-minute walks are good because remember, he's processing.
Yeah.
Right? So in the beginning, you break him up. But then once he's trained or getting close to trained or your walks are going really well, you can start doing longer ones.
Yeah.
Now, if all you have is a complete hour, that like you have a 1 hour block and that's your only chance to walk him, you can do a 1 hour walk because it's not redundant. You're only correcting applying the e-collar when he's not at your side. Right? So if you do that 1 hour walk and for 30 minutes he's at your hip and then you do your first correction, like that's really good. Okay? But in the beginning, he just learns better in smaller chunks.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, that's not, yeah, we can manage it.
My next question/concern, we decided to go out of town this Friday through Monday morning.
Okay?
So my sister and then another friend are going to be watching him.
Sure.
They're not trained on this, obviously. Is it okay to lapse that amount of days without them using this, and then we come back to it, or do you suggest that I take the time to walk my sister through this and see how she does?
That's your comfort,
Okay.
right? But it won't have any effect on your training if they don't.
Okay.
Because dogs learn by association like kids,
Okay.
right? So as a kid growing up, when I was with my grandma, I knew I could push things and get away with stuff.
Yeah.
And I knew if I was with my grandma and my grandma would override my mom. Oh, no, don't leave him alone, right? He's just a little kid. So I learned to play the rules. Dogs are the same way. So he'll learn, oh, when I'm with Auntie, I can be old whiny, overstimulated Vinny, but when I'm with mom and dad and that kicks into play, I have to be disciplined. Okay, so I've had a lot of my clients have dog walkers that won't do the training or whatever, and I tell them don't worry about it, it won't affect your training. But the dog won't behave as well, obviously, with that person. But then, let's say you did work with your sister, you saw how easily that transferred to you?
Right.
You didn't have to do as many turns as he did, right? Because he learned the concept.
Right.
And you're doing the exact same thing he did. So it just immediately transferred over.
Right.
So if you wanted to work with your sister, it should be that simple.
Right.
Okay, and the other thing is your video would also be up by that point, is you can refer them to the video as well.
Maybe it would be like I can walk Sarah through it, but because Allie has them for a day, I don't feel necessary. But for Sarah, because she has them for 2, that might be worth it.
Yeah. So personal preference, but no, if they don't do anything, it won't affect.
Great. Okay, that's good to know.
Yep.
Okay.
Because I've had clients that would travel a lot, and they would be gone like Monday through Friday, and they would ask me like, hey, is this even worth investing in? Because I work so much, and I go, yeah, because it's about consistency. It doesn't matter that you're gone 5 out of 7 days.
Right.
What matters is every time you're back and you work with your dog, it's this.
Right.
And it still applies.
Right.
Okay. Other questions?
I think those were my only ones.
No, I think that's.
Yeah.
So one thing is once you've started the exercise, so earlier I said, let him do his business first, then find your working level, then begin your walk, right?
Yep.
Is at the end or maybe in the middle of the walk, maybe you decide you want to let him say hi to a buddy or go potty again. I use the word break. Break means your job is done. Okay? So I would come to a stop. He would stop. Whether or not he sits doesn't matter at this point. And then I would cue the word break and then walk him towards the grass.
Got it. So
Okay.
if we want him to go poop or something, because he won't go right away.
Correct. Because there's an on switch and an off switch. Now the on switch would be heel, but we're not going to say heel this week. We start at the second class.
Okay.
Because we're teaching everything through remote first.
Right.
So once we condition the behavior, then we layer in the word.
Okay.
But we do need a word to tell him his job is done. Okay. So I use the word break. So once you say break, he can pee, poop, roll around, sniff the ground, have a cigarette. I don't care. He's on his own time. And then to reinitiate the healing exercise, you would simply start walking and tap him, boom, and he should come in.
Yeah.
And the tap, and the contraction is the communicator of like, hey, boom, now you need to be back on that hip.
Right.
Okay? Let's say you're walking with Vinny. A very common thing is if the dog knows the way home, is they'll start to forge. Because he's like, hey, I'm stressed. I'm tired of this stupid game, and I just want to go home, right? So if that happens, I use that to my advantage. Because it doesn't, and it sounds bad, it doesn't matter how he feels.
Right.
He is supposed to adhere to the heel position. So if he gets stressed and decides, hey, I'm not going to do this and I'm going to forge ahead, and we ignore that, he learns that there are options and alternatives to actually having to walk
Right.
based on how he feels. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So let's say you're at 41, you had a great walk, you get a block away from your home, he knows where you're at, he starts to forge, and you do your turn and tap. Remember, we have that 3 correction rule. So if you turn and tap, turn and tap, and turn and tap, and he keeps trying to forge, the stress levels are overriding the meaning of the collar, 41 to 45,
Yep.
45 to 50. And you have to override his stress. So then he thinks, crap, even though I'm really stressed out, I still have to stay on the hip.
Right.
Okay, so what I'll tell people, if you notice that pattern of forging on the way home, is let's say you have 20 minutes, you spend 5 minutes walking away from home, and 15 minutes coming back home, because that tends to be harder. Because you're trying to give yourself more time to get him to walk at your hip on the way back.
Right.
Okay.
Because you might do 5 different turns
Exactly.
and taps on the way to make it 3 miles.
Correct. Same thing for let's say you're walking to the dog park, and he knows the route to the dog park. Now it's going to be over excitement.
He does it every time.
Yeah. So then it would be a very similar scenario. You're walking to the dog park. He gets amped up. He's like, I want to get there faster. And then you use power to override him. Okay. For a guy like him, he can go in jumps of 3 to 5. Okay. So 43, 40, 40, 43, 47, 50, 54, 59 type of thing. Just as a kind of a structure. And then once you get comfortable with it, you'll just find yourself going up and down, and you don't even really think much about the number and stuff.
Right.
Okay. If you do end up taking him at the dog park or to the dog park before I see you the next time, you can leave the collar on.
Okay.
Okay. You don't have to remove it. If anything, I encourage it, because then he learns oh, I also get to do fun things with the collar on, you know, and then I just don't mess with it while he's there. And then once we're ready to go, you leash him up, go outside, and then begin the process again.
Same thing could be applied for playing fetch in the house type of thing.
Yep.
Keep the collar on. It's like a part of the normal
Yeah. Just,
positive association.
and if you try, let's say you try the fetch thing, and you notice he doesn't want to go for the ball, it's because of the collar. Okay, so the threat of the possibility of a consequence is deterring the behavior. It's fine. You can just remove the collar and play fetch normally, but then you can experiment with that. And then one day you'll find like, oh, he's playing fetch now with the collar on. That shows you his comfort level with the e-collar.
Right.
Okay.
Maybe immediately not so much.
Yeah. Other questions?
I think that's good.
So we went over the break, the release, the exercise, amount of time. Let's go ahead and I'm going to have you, yeah, we're close to the end. I'll have you do a little bit more of the back and forth and then we'll cap it there.
Okay.
And
Can
you'll-
you stay at 38 for now?
Yeah, you can keep it there.
Oh, I need.
And then slow turn. Good turn. There's the forwards, now turn, cap. Good. And you're going to go into a slow turn again. And you see that difference? Yeah. Go ahead and pick up your pace a bit. And when you start to come back this way, I'm going to have you walk closer to Dad over here, okay? To see what he does. Yeah, keep forward. Very good. So you see how he even scoots away a little bit? That's fine. Then he comes back out. Good. Keep forward. Keep forward. Tap. Good. Good. There you go. And get ready for a turn. Good turn. Going to speed up. And then slow down for a turn. Good. And then slow to a stop. Perfect. Okay. And one thing I'm going to point out is that that whole time that we were standing for that last little bit, right there, right? He kept his butt down the whole time.
Yeah.
And during the consult, man, he was just all over the place. Right? This is the importance of discipline. Okay. Food won't get you this type of stuff.
No.
Because food isn't discipline, right?
We know.
You try, yeah.
Trying exhaustively on the pilot and got us nowhere.
Yeah.
Yes. When you can communicate to a dog using their language, it's this quick.
Yeah.
Because we're talking their language. So it's like talking to someone who speaks Spanish and English and expecting them to learn,
Right.
right? It's not going to happen. You speak Spanish to them, and then you have your line of communication. Okay? So you're not being mean, you're not being forceful. He picked a number, we adjusted it as necessary, and then once we got the result that we're looking for, we go, oh, that's the number.
Great.
Right? So we had a small little dip from 41 to 38. So this week when you work with him, just keep tabs on your numbers and stuff. Don't worry about being perfect. Don't worry about not making mistakes. You're going to make mistakes as part of the process. Okay? So your homework for this week, practice this, just this. Remember, don't apply it to anything we've not covered. He can wear it, during the day for like an hour or so, whatever. If for whatever reason he were to wear it for more than 2 hours, you do have to rotate the collar because dogs will develop what we call pressure sores because there's two probes poking into the neck. It's not from stim, it's from two things being in the neck for a long period of time. So like people get bed sores when they don't move for a long time, they have to rotate them. Same process here. But at this point in the training, you're most likely not going to be using it for that length of time. Okay. Your collar, of course, is fully waterproof. 1 mile range. In the city, you're not going to get the full mile because obviously there's buildings and stuff. But like if you were to be out in the open field, you got plenty of range. And obviously, I don't think your dog would get a mile away from you. Okay. But yeah, but in terms of going to like the park, or whatever, you have plenty of control. Okay. So that's it. Smaller chunks or 3 20-minute walks, 4 15-minute walks, 2 half-hour walks, whatever would be ideal. If all you have is a solid hour, that's perfectly fine. Remember, you're only turning when he's passing you, okay? This week, I want you to get in the habit of anytime you're going to stop and anytime you're going to turn, what do you want to do first? Not tap. What do we do before we stop so that he knows what's going on?
Slow down?
Yes. Slow down.
Before a stop or
To give him a chance to adjust.
Correct. So if you slow down,
give him a chance.
you did your job, right? You slow down. But if he's not paying attention, he's going to keep going. So then you would turn and tap to line him up again, and then turn again if needed, if that's the direction you need to go. So it's like with driving. Before we stop, what do?
Or slow.
Slow. And before we turn, what do? We slow down. Because if you stop too abruptly, whoever's behind you is going to crash into you.
Right.
And if you turn too abruptly and you're going fast, you could potentially flip your car.
Right.
We got to slow down first, right? So just think of that when you're walking with him, okay?
Right.
Just slow down before a stop and slow down before a turn. At least 3 steps. More is perfectly fine.
Right.
Okay? So what you would find is, like, let's say you just stop like this, he would shoot forward.
But it's not his fault.
It's not his fault, right? That's on us. Now, technically, if he shoots forward, you'd still have to turn and correct,
Right.
but that's on the handler.
Right.
Okay? So, but main thing is just slow down before turn, before stop, and you should be fine. Okay? If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to the email that I emailed you from.
Okay.
Email is always best with any kind of training questions because I'll ignore them throughout the day, and at the end of the night, I'll sit down and get back to everybody. Because if somebody texts me a question, like, I'll see it and forget to respond.
Right.
And that's pretty much it. Okay? Nothing out of the ordinary here. He actually responded well, you know, despite the shaking and like a little bit of the whining and stuff. He's actually he picked up on it pretty quick. So,
Good.
okay? Awesome, guys. So here you can tell him break. Oh, and also, by the way, like, let's say you're working with him
Yeah.
and you're going home, and for whatever reason, like maybe he's being super stubborn or something, and you have to like get back because you're on time constraints, just simply come to a stop, wait a moment, say break, and he can pull you home no problem. Okay? Because you've added a clear end to the exercise.
Right.
So that will not affect your training.
Right.
Okay?
To remember that.
So right now, you say break and you let him kind of.
He's
back
done.
to
He
his
can
normal.
pull out. Yeah, because right now, if you try to walk out this door, I guarantee you he's going to start forging. Okay? Because he's like, get me the hell out of here. Okay? So then we say break, and we're like, all right, you're done. It doesn't matter what you do now. Okay? And then once we start using the actual verbal word of heal, it'll kind of clear things up a bit more.
Okay.
Okay? Great job, guys.
Take this off now?
You can leave it on.
Okay.
Remember, leave it on 15 minutes. Put it on 15 minutes prior. Leave it on 15 minutes after, just so he doesn't get too savvy to the collar.
Okay.